What's your first instinct about them?
My first instinct is it's too soon to say, because
Okay.
seriously,
Fair enough.
with peregrines though, because of their hunting style, it's got to be perfect flight, perfect, and fingers are part of that.
Yeah.
So it's too soon to say.
Located in Killingworth, Connecticut, a place called Hope is a rehabilitation and education center for birds of prey. Christine Cummings, president and co-founder of A Place Called Hope, knew immediately she wanted to create an environment to preserve wildlife for the future, once she had laid her eyes on a bird of prey.
Well, A Place Called Hope was officially founded in 2007. We started volunteering actually at another wildlife rehabilitation center that focused primarily on birds of prey. And we knew immediately, the first time we ever saw one of these raptors or birds of prey in person, eye to eye, close up, we knew this was what we had to do. It's something that we eat, sleep, and breathe, basically. They are so magnificent. There's a lot of ancient wisdom involved with these birds. They're magical. They fly, of course. It's something that humans long to do. They speak to us on a real soulful level. Our mission statement is to preserve wildlife for the future. That's our ultimate goal. We're a group of dedicated volunteers and wildlife rehabilitators with that shared passion to see a difference made out there with the public. Because nowadays, 98% of the animals, wild animals injured out there, are injured in ways related to human beings. So, for example, 85% are struck by vehicles. There's not much we can tell people to do to lessen that kind of impact. However, simple things like throwing apple cores out the window or banana peels, those kinds of items thrown out a car window attract little critters to come along and eat those pieces of food, which normally would go back to the earth and biodegrade, but those animals get hit by cars. And then with a lot of wild animals who are predators, a lot of them, they're going to find that roadkill, fresh roadkill, as a source of food. So they often get hit by cars. So nowadays, I think it's important for people to no longer let nature take its course. It's important for all of us to do our part in intervening and helping fix some of the problems we're causing.
Todd Secchi, secretary, treasurer, and co-founder, knows the complex process when an injured bird first comes into the sanctuary.
Typically, the first thing we do is look them over, check them for weight, make sure they're not skinny or emaciated, check them for flat flies and different parasites, and then just basically go through every inch of the bird, look over the wings, check the bones, check the feet, check the legs, check the head, check the mouth. So it's very thorough what we do when bringing a bird in, the first thing we do. So there's quite a bit involved, you know, and there's a lot of different injuries that we're dealing with. A lot of emaciation cases in the winter. Hydration is one of the most important things. You never want to feed a bird, an injured bird, because it could actually kill the bird. If it's starving and emaciated or sick, it could burn up the bird's energy by digesting food. So really the most important thing is to hydrate it. And dark and quiet is very good.
So a typical day for us, it starts in the morning with taking care of rehabilitation cases. So birds that are in whatever stage of rehabilitation, usually we have them in playpens to start because it's nice and soft for them, and we start out in critical care. It requires medicating, changing bandages, things of that nature. Then we do a feeding routine. I feed everybody every single morning and every single night, and basically each bird here eats on average about 4, if it's an all mouse diet, about 4 mice per bird. Depending on the bird, depends on the size of the mice. We also feed here day-old chicks, 2-week-old chickens, beef heart, things like that. But for the most part, it's feeding, cleaning, answering calls, and education. We love to go out and share our birds for a 1-hour presentation with the public so we can teach people about each kind, why they're with us, ways they can lessen conflicts, and how people can help.
Over the course of 8 years, Christine has come to find what the most common birds are that enter the sanctuary.
Well, for the daytime hunters, the most common bird is the red-tailed hawk, which is actually in this aviary behind me. The red-tailed hawk, it's the most adaptable species, so it's doing well in all kinds of environments, meaning it can live in the city, it can live in the country, it can live in neighborhoods. This bird can pretty much eat whatever's abundant in the area, so that's why it's doing so well, the red-tailed hawk. For the nighttime hunters, though, that would be the owls. The most common owl that we see here in Connecticut is the barred owl. That's B-A-R-R-E-D, barred owl. That's the one with the sparring pattern in the chest. It's got liquid chocolate brown eyes. You'll meet it later as you walk around. The bird you're about to meet here is a barred owl. She was hit by a car. 85% of the birds we rescue are struck by vehicles. Unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about that. But 85%, that's most of them, and they really are no match for cars. This particular one is doing quite well considering the car strike injury. Suffered from a head trauma injury, there was blood in the mouth, eyes were squinty closed, and she's doing quite well. I actually tested her yesterday in an open space to see if she would try to fly, and she has not done that yet. But as soon as she does, she'll go out into an aviary with her own species and exercise and do physical therapy before her release. And hopefully we can involve you on her release. She was found in the town of Westbrook.
Members of A Place Called Hope use many techniques in order to release the birds. Todd, a big part of the bird releasing process, has seen many birds come through the sanctuary and reach the releasing point, despite the horrible injuries the birds take on.
It's really hard to put a number on it, but just giving a basic number, it's a little over half of the birds that we bring in are released back into the wild, which is amazing because you think if we have, recently we had a little screech owl, stands about that high, maybe 8 to 10 inches high, was hit by a car on the highway at 65 miles an hour, and they drove for half an hour and got home, pulled into their garage, got out of the car, and the bird was actually, I don't want to say embedded, but he was stuck in the grill of the car still, and alive. They called us, we went out and picked it up, brought it back, and Christine rehabbed it. I think it had a fracture in the elbow of the wing, and we were actually able to bring it back a couple weeks later and release it back to where it was hit on the highway. So, you know, birds have hollow bones. Everything about them is designed for flight, so they're designed to be light. Bones are very brittle, they break easy, and they mend quickly. A broken bone in a bird's body will start to mend within 24 hours. Usually within the first 48 hours, the bone will fuse and start to calcify. So, yeah, the #1 injury would by far is car strikes.
Volunteers at A Place Called Hope understand how much of a privilege it is to work with these animals up close.
Just being in an aviary with, you know, well, these guys are kind of funny, but like the great horned owls or the hawks or, you know, any of the birds, I just love them all. It's definitely been rewarding and continues to be.
Well, I used to own a parrot store in Middletown, and after that store closed, I needed to do something different, but I wanted it to still have something to do with birds. So, you know, I figured if I could clean parrot cages for a living, I could volunteer here and clean vulture cages. And it's been a lot of fun. And I look forward to it on, you know, every Sunday. And, you know, I like the people. It's a great bunch of folks to volunteer with, and I love the program that they undertake here, and I enjoy all the birds.
Finally, the barred owl we met earlier is shown through its rehabilitation stages to be released, showing the sanctuary's ultimate goal. In this part of the rehabilitation, the owl is placed with birds of its kind so it can be accustomed to its natural life again. Finally, after weeks of rehabilitation, the owl is ready to be released.